Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining Mindset Live, part two of our discussion, the afterlife discussions. We figured last week we had such a good time talking about what may or may not come after we shed this mortal coil and move on to someplace else, or maybe not. We figured it would be time to sit down once again and discuss what may or may not happen. Let's go through and introduce the rest of the gang. Let's go straight over to Steve Genier. Hey, Steve, how you doing?
Howdy-o.
This is
How are you?
Steve from Nocturnal Frequency Radio. He is the host and the creator of the show. Am I correct, Steve? Am I speaking out of
Correct,
school?
yeah.
No. He is
You're
the creator of the show. It's a great show every Sunday night. Check it out. And here's someone's cat there in the background. We'll get to that in a second.
Yep.
Next up, we have Mr. Alex Rondini. He's Steve's co-host on the Nocturnal Frequency Radio. What's up, Alex?
Not much. How are you?
Doing really good. Great to have
I'm
you.
more like the lackey on the show, actually.
Is he still awake?
And last but not least, we have a mutual friend and guest many times on the Mindset Podcast and the Nocturnal Frequency, of course, Mr. Justin Villarreal. What's up, Justin? How you doing?
Evening, everyone.
Great to
I
see
hope
you
everyone's having a
again.
good time.
Very, very cool. Let's go to our main view here where we can see everyone. So when we last spoke last week on the show, we were discussing the afterlife. What happens when we die, if anything? And we ended it with, why do people believe in the afterlife? Why are people so kind of, not obsessed, but I think if you asked anyone, if you went to pretty much anyone on the street and you said, what happens after you die? Most people would have an explanation or a thought like, well, we go to heaven, or we go here, or we go there. Very rarely will you meet someone and be like, that's it, you're done, dead, you're gone, it's over.
Yeah.
You will run into those people. They do exist, but for the most part, you're going to get people who are going to have ideas or themes or questions. So I want to go.
I think it's growing. Actually,
absolutely. Let's go to Justin first and get his take on that. Justin, why do you think most people on Earth have an innate sense or belief in something after death?
I think part of it is just the fuel of the unknown, and I think that's really what it comes down to. And probably from our early experiences with, could be some ritualistic hallucinogens and some herb of some sort, or some other alcohol or something like that. But those have kind of helped inhibit those types of things. And even if you look further into those types of experiences, people who've did any of those ritualistic type of inebriants, they all share sometimes similar experiences. So they could come from there, but a lot of it is just because of the unknown, where we've been filling the gaps in. And part of us, it's because it's the ego. We got this identity and everything, and when you have so much invested into family, friends, and so on, you get kind of lost into the bigger picture of things. So in this sense, it's like holding on to our identity to an extent, because if there isn't nothing, then that's kind of scary to some people. They don't know really how to handle that. And I think that's the biggest aspect. That's probably, I guess in short, fear of the unknown is what fuels this search for the afterlife.
No, I would agree. Do you think it has more to do with the people that live around, like if you have a close friend or a family member that dies, it's the people around the person that dies.
Yes,
there's such a grief and loss. They want to think or believe that no, this can't be the end of Uncle Joe.
Yeah,
he must be going on to someplace else. It can't be like, that's it, he's done, game over.
Yes.
There must be something more to this. What do you think about that kind of idea, Steve?
I don't know. I think if anything, it gives somebody a sense of comfort, really, to think that, okay, death isn't the end. There's a continuation, and if we're good, this is something that we'll sort of transition into. and pretty much with what Justin had said earlier. I mean, it's really a conditioning, if anything, to me,
Yeah.
that most of us, if not all of us, have gone through in life, in early life, obviously, that to believe that in fact, the end all isn't, or sorry, the end is not really the end, but
Yeah.
perhaps a beginning.
Let's move over to Alex, Mr. Skeptical over there, and let's. What do you? What
Our
do you?
straight man.
Our straight man.
What do you think, Alex?
It's well, religion does play a huge part in the belief that we continue on after we die, but it is also something that gives us hope that this isn't all that there is to be. You know what I mean? And that's, I think, why a lot of people, even though they may not be necessarily religious, that they still cling on to the idea that there's something beyond our physical, because as humans, we're very inquisitive. We're very the type of people that we just want to learn more and more and more, and to know that, or to believe that once our physical bodies die, that's it. It's kind of disheartening.
Yeah, it kind of is, because you've spent all these years, let's say, what's the average human lifespan is what, about 80 years is the average,
Yeah, roughly,
give or
yeah.
take. So you've spent 80 years cultivating your personality and your ego and your outlook on reality and how you perceive reality to function. And all these experiences you've had over those 80 years, the joys, the misery, the happiness, the sadness, the pain, the horrors, the ecstasy, all of the things you've experienced over that 80 years. And suddenly, you're hit by a bus one Saturday morning crossing the street, and boop,
Yep.
it's gone.
And it's even sadder for those who die younger too, whether it be because of disease or a tragic accident. I mean, for us to believe that we don't sort of continue on as a consciousness at the very least, it is very disheartening and very depressing. Really, there are some people obviously in this world who take it at face value, meaning that they believe that nothing is there beyond our physical bodies. Once we die, that's it. Very few people have the ability to actually think that way and accept it. So the idea that religion gives us hope in the sense of there's a continuation, whether that be a heaven or another realm, is something that gives us hope and sort of takes the fear away from dying.
Yeah.
Aren't we in many ways, though, by discussing this, talking about the origin of religion? People's fear of losing their personality and their ego and their who they are gives birth to a whole belief system based on what wishful thinking, right? We want it to be this way, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it is that way. What do you think, Justin?
Yeah, no, it's totally fed in by that. I mean, we most of our beliefs, and if people don't even realize it, we've only been modern as in what we have maybe for like 100 years, maybe 200. So add in all those previous years of different religious beliefs, philosophical beliefs, and everything. That's all we've had. And that's all we've had to hang on to, just speculating all these things. So it fills in those gaps for us to further push our lives on. And I mean, it's the best thing we can do, because really it's at this, like I said, it's all we had at that time. Now we're moving to something different. And I think that's where things are going to start to change. I think we're seeing it now, that these ideas of what religion has done, because there are the negative aspects, and we've talked about it previously on shows, where the fellowship and, there are the positive aspects. Not necessarily you need that for religion, but those aspects is what draws people in. And we're starting to see how we can do that in many other forms now. So I think in some way that fear is starting to fade. I mean, look at society. We're practically nihilistic and cynical as it is now. So that fear is starting to fade, but it really is a huge hole, because look, we have Muslim immigrants and even in some aspect Christian philosophies that have infiltrated a lot of modern society, and it's still here. we're still trying to figure out
You got a
many different
poltergeist
things.
there.
Yeah, I got a poltergeist. We're still trying to figure out many things, with believing in witches. People still believe in witches now. So I mean, it's that all that still fuels everything that we're seeing, and it's a hindrance, but it's also a look into how we were responding to these types of questions we had so long ago.
I want to ask, like, what do you mean by that, Justin? People are still having trouble believing in witches.
Because, well, part of it is it's because we still don't have the information we all have across the world. But even when we do, a lot of people still don't have those resources of education where you can kind of go to a library and whatnot. I think I mentioned it before. I had a family member within, let's say, the last 5 years. Let's just say push to a decade, okay? Let's say in the last decade, I've had at least one family member send me a video, and I believe I brought this up. It was Chris Angel. They believe that Chris Angel separated a woman. It was in a park, and they're like, I can't believe this. And many people, if you follow certain conspiracy groups and whatnot, he's part of the Illuminati. But he did it. So there's still people now who believe in that type of stuff, which is the problem that we have with progression. It is true. These are the problems. We see it now in our American culture. All these religious fanatics, I was going to call them so, but these religious fanatics that seriously have infiltrated politics a lot more than what probably it was before. It might have been the same. Now that I think it might be the same, but the way media has been able to spread it the way it is, that's where I do worry. I really do worry in that sense because of how things are being used to manipulate people into religion. So, I mean, I hope that answered your question a little bit there, Steve.
Oh, yeah.
You want to continue there, Steve, or are you good?
Well, no, and you can further with what Justin was saying about that. And you look at one of the origins of witches and witchcraft, if you will, and that being in Western Africa, and how that is dwindling now because of the amount of Muslims that have basically come
dominated.
into the country, dominated now. They're basically killing off the religion because of its stigma. And it's belief that it's a demonic sort of evil sort of incantation, and we need to rid the world of it. And it's really sad to see this kind of thing.
Well, this is actually when I first started to speak at conventions and stuff. It first started off at just my experiences, but I was like, I really get a chance to explain this whole caveat of paranormal and spiritual religious beliefs. And one of the things that I bring up is the African witch children, which is still very popular now, not just in Africa and many other different countries.
Wait. But witch children?
Yes, African witch children. So not just Christianity, but other religions believe, largely Christianity. What they will do is, it's part of their snake oil sales. The people will come in and say my child is doing this, and the priest of that Christian priest, most likely pastor, preacher, whoever, whatever they want to call themselves, he'll have an elixir or some prayer or something, and because people, like, we see some behavior issues that we may call ADD or something like that, they take their children to this saying they're witches. And in some cases, it's not just elixirs; they're burning them, they're mutilating.
Oh my God.
So I took the time to bring this up in one of my conventions, and it's one of the things that stick because, as you mentioned numerous times, Gareth, the problems that we have. This is one of them. No matter how I want to cut it, how we even want to take the Bible. We look at what people believe in, and this is one of the outputs of that is literally mutilating children because we believe witches exist. And that is a serious situation that we have when we're looking at this. And look, that's why I even brought up, just overall, I think overall we have a serious take on it because towards the end of the last episode, we were joking around and like, how would we see demons? We really have to look at the reality to those, not, sure, witches, magic and all this other stuff, but literally there are people just like our Salem witch trials. It's still happening now in modern life.
Well, there are people that, because of their faith and their belief system, what they're they're in this particular religion, regardless of what the religion is, Christianity, Islam, whatever. Doesn't matter. What the religion is doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The fact that it's not a cultural belief, it's reality.
Yeah.
When they look at their religion, it's not just something that, well, this is the way I was raised and this is the things I do. It's not that. This is the way the world functions. This is how reality functions. This is real, right?
Well, you can further it, Gareth.
Well, let me just finish my thought, and then I'll jump to you.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
People who have this kind of thought pattern, it's very, very dangerous. And it's dangerous because
it is.
They're going down a path of madness, of insanity, because they're placing their view on reality on childish, wishful thinking, pie in the sky nonsense. Right? And most people are religious because of it's cultural religion. It's part of their
Correct.
It's part of their culture.
It's been like this.
It's part of their culture. Their parents were raised in it. They're raised in it, and they go to church or the synagogue, and they go and they do
indoctrination.
Exactly, and they go and they do their stuff and they just live their lives. Do they really believe it? Most of them probably don't.
Yeah.
But they still go along with the practice because it's part of their culture. So the vast majority, they do it because of cultural reasons. They don't really believe that it's real. They just do it because, hey, that's part of my culture. That's what I do.
Yeah.
There's a small percentage of that slab that it's not just part of their culture. They really, really believe this is reality. Those are the dangerous people. Those are the ones who will, like you said, torture and burn children.
Yeah.
People who will go to because for them it's not just some cultural belief system that they do on the weekend or whatever. This is real, and it's very, very dangerous.
Yeah.
Well, let me go to Steve because I know Steve was going to say something. Let me jump over to Steve. What were you going to say, Steve?
Well, it's pretty much what you were saying, Gareth and Justin. I mean, when you look at these, witchcraft, Wicca, or whatever, these are things that frighten controlled societies, right? Because there is no control over these things. At least there wasn't. And that instills fear. Mm-hmm. And the fear is we need to extinguish this now. We need to get control of it now. If we don't, it will spread like a virus, right? And you look at something like communism, for instance, and how the West was so afraid, or at least believed to be afraid, that this, the big red tentacles are reaching around the world, and soon they will come for us here in North America, the U.S., whatever. Same thing with these small paganistic sort of religious, traditional religions. It's the same, same thing that the control needs to be there.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree completely. And while you were saying that, Steve, I had certain thoughts popping in my head, and I have a feeling that this show is going to get very, very deep tonight. It's
what makes you say that?
That's why we're
it's going to get
why we're here.
It's going to get deep. Very, very deep. We're going to touch on subjects which is going to make your hair curl.
Yeah.
So well,
is that I don't know. Here's a gone already.
you gotta have
can't be making a hair joke when two guys are bald.
That's true. That's very true.
Come on, Alex, it's butt heads.
Yeah. So this makes me think about belief systems in regard to how people perceive reality functioning, and I mean we're all in our little bubbles of illusion. Right?
Yeah,
all of us, every man, woman, and child on planet Earth is engulfed in a bubble of fantasy, right? Because if we were exposed to true reality, I don't know if we'd even get out of bed in the morning. It would be so terrifying and so overwhelming. So we create these bubbles of illusion that we kind of play out our little theater lives about how we think the world works. What do you guys think about that? Do you agree, disagree? What do you think?
Oh, yeah.
I agree.
Anyone want to take that, Justin?
Yeah, I mean, it's what we see in everything that we do, from paranormal to what we're talking about religion. Even in, let's say, Christian mythos, how many branches of Christianity are there?
Mm-hmm.
Based off some passage in the Bible or some experience that happened. Yeah, they, in that even sense, they don't even know what they truly believe in, when it comes down to it. But it's safe. It's safe for them, and I understand it. I was brought up in that. I was like, oh, God will take care of me. All my problems will be taken care of. I just got to do this. I'll have a seat in heaven with him. And watching the world around me, where I grew up on, Southeast Chicago, I've seen some really bad things. One night, a man was going to be set on fire, right in the middle of the street. These are types of things that I grew up, knowing and seeing, and it's easy for someone who's involved with that, or overall growing up in that, to quickly run to religion as something that's safe, because the world is scary when you're in that, and it affects a lot of people in areas like that, as well as impoverished, because in my experience, I know this is going off a little bit of a topic there, but investigating and researching all these claims, I found that the majority of impoverished people believe in the more neutral or linear Christian beliefs, but for some strange reason, not really strange, I shouldn't say that, I've noticed that a lot more affluent groups of people tend to go into the new agey type of stuff, so we see how these beliefs can affect people in certain ways, even just in class wise, or it
goes sense. Also, you bring up some really good points there, Justin. It goes towards like poor people are more likely to be religious than affluent people.
Yeah.
Right. There's more poor people are more likely to be invested in a religion, and more atheists are going to be middle class to upper class. Yes.
And there's many reasons, it's the access to resources. That's one. And that doesn't say that those resources don't exist in certain areas, but it really is an access to resources. And it is better to open up to those things as well, because there's obviously something to some of those beliefs and philosophies. But there's obviously a clear division. Even my own ancestors, being Mexican, we didn't believe in Christianity before. We believe in the sun god.
Right.
chopping heads off and rolling them down the temples. That's what we were doing before. So I mean, that's from bloody.
Christians believe in the sun god too. It's just a different interpretation of the word sun.
Different interpretation. Good point.
Right?
Very good point.
It's it's SON as opposed to SUN.
Correct.
But it's still the sun.
And that's where we attribute. That's a good point, because a lot of people who don't follow this, if you really do follow the esoteric history of things, it starts off with our celestial bodies. That's where most of religion comes from, is looking at the stars. And of course, we don't see those things now, because it's a hard thing to understand now. But at that time, that's what they saw, and they thought they were gods that were taking care of the night. So, and that brings us back to the earlier point where some of this kind of stems from and why we believe it, because back then, which we're still somewhat going through a bit of a dark age, but back then, this is all we had. We looked at the sky. We saw comets flying. We possibly saw planets exploding. I mean, it's totally possible at that time, which we thought were wars, celestial wars, godly wars.
Well, there's some ancient Chinese documents that were discovered in the 1940s that are thousands and thousands of years old, and these people were writing about a time where there was no moon in the sky.
Yeah.
There's even some from India that describe people from another world.
Yeah.
And that's where possibly that we're stepping into ancient alien. I'm talking to this thing like we're stepping into ancient alien territory. because there are some things to take into consideration, because that is, part of where this religion, it's total possibility. We may not see it now because of just time, but it's total possibility what we do see as God or angels and all sorts of things could have been maybe extraterrestrial ancestors, that first step foot on this planet, because that's really where we're trying to figure out, when it's religion, think about what we're looking at some, angels, demons, things with magical powers, which could be interpreted to modern technology just be seen by our ancient ancestors at that time.
But it's more than that, though, Justin. It's not just what I was tying into earlier. It's not just religious belief systems that form people's ideals on how reality functions. It's the institutions that we have around us, right?
Of course.
Even government. You have the government religion. You have the military religion, and I know people don't think of these two entities as religious, but they absolutely are religious.
Yes, they are.
They are religious institutions because people believe in them.
Yes,
and
the power that they offer.
They believe in them, and they believe in the power, but in reality, they don't even really exist. It's just the belief in them.
Yes. Empowered by belief, which is essentially what we've all been dealing with. Every little thing is empowered by belief, from our economics to religion to our government institutions to our, I said that money, economics. Yep. It's all powered by belief. Go
ahead, Steve.
What about the thought of believing it to the point where it becomes a reality?
Well, yeah.
Well, government has kind of done that, right? Because most people don't even question that the government doesn't exist. It's of course it exists, Yeah. And one of the greatest arguments I've ever heard is when talking about things like this, people have said like, no, the government doesn't exist. It's all make believe. It's fantasy. It's just people believe that it exists, therefore it is. And people are like, well, what are you talking about? What about Congress and the White House? And it's real. And then the answer you always come back is, well, does God exist because churches exist?
Well, look at that as the afterlife. We have created something because of belief. Many of us believe to the point that the afterlife is real, but is it real?
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Well,
getting back to the afterlife thing, sort of thing.
Yeah, no, thank you, Steve. Thank you for getting us back on track there. We're rapidly going into the anarchist volunteerist movement, but thank you so much for getting us back on track. Talking about the afterlife.
I want to get Justin talking about the quantum physics again.
Here's something that we can talk about that'll get us back onto the afterlife bandwagon, so to speak. We always think that you have this section of life. You're born and you die. You have this linear line, right, from birth to death, and that's your life, right? You just say from the cradle to the grave. That's
a good movie.
That's your line, right? From birth to death. And you think
when you said that, Gareth.
Yeah.
When you said that, it's funny. I don't know where I read it, but somebody was saying that. Wouldn't it be extremely weird if that was actually that linear sort of timeline that we are supposedly following is actually backwards?
Would you get out of my head, please? I'm gonna get there in a minute.
No, but I'm serious. It made me think. Seriously,
you're stealing my thunder, Steve.
Get ahead of us.
No. But
this is Gareth's show.
Spock, Bones. I was just gonna say.
Were you were gonna get into that? I'm sorry.
I was just gonna become Bill Shatner for a minute. So you threw me off my. So we have this linear from birth to death, cradle to grave, and you think that this is the beginning and this is the end, and when we die, we figure, well, this is the end of physical reality, right? Our heart stops beating, our brain goes dead, and that's the end, and suddenly we become just a sack of meat, right? Just like this carcass, this not animated anymore.
Eventually, dirt.
Dirt, yeah. We decompose into nothing.
Right back to carbon.
And we keep thinking about like, well, our personality, our consciousness, who we were, all of our experience. Where does that go? Is it gone forever, or does it go someplace else? What about the reverse? What happens before we're born? Where do we come from? Where does that spark of consciousness begin?
Where do we come from? Where do we go? Cotton Eye Joe.
I want to go to our resident skeptic on this one.
Oh boy!
I want to go to Alex and get
me?
and get his point of view. What do you think, Alex?
I wish I had an answer to that, but the reality is that I don't know. If you believe the religious view, then obviously the spark is imbued at the time of conception, and that's where it begins. I guess the bigger question is, where does that spark begin? Is it created, like it says in the creation stories, or is it just something that we develop as we are being born, for lack of a better term? Like from time to conception to the time we're born, consciousness develops and we become individual, which would indicate that this would be sort of like the first step in a multi-step sort of program.
Yeah.
Right. So what I used to say back in the day, and it's something that still is somewhat there in the back of my mind, is that our physical reality here is almost like the infancy stage of our life. And then when we die and move on to the next realm, it's almost like the toddler stage. And then you go on to the next one, which is the so on and so forth, like the childhood stage, the teenager stage, and what have you.
So what are we in right now? The childhood stage or the
we're in the infant stage.
The infant stage, okay. Now
we're still in the playpen.
We're still in the playpen, I guess so. Now I don't know how many of you have children. I don't know.
I do now.
Justin's got some kids. Alex and Steve lucked out.
Some crotch goblins.
Yeah, we lucked out.
I have two kids also. But this is what I found interesting. Because I've always been very much fascinated by these subjects ever since I was a kid. When I had kids, it was experiment time. And it was experiment time, not that I would, strap them to a bench and line them up with electrodes and stuff, but I would.
Why not?
Yeah, why not?
I was very much watching and observing and checking out how they reacted to reality, because it was new to them, right? I mean, when you're brand new. And you're coming into this world, everything should be new. Everything should be fresh. And why is this? And what's that? And all that thing. And I was very, very observant with my children, especially my first child, my daughter. I was very, very observant when she was very little. And I noticed something very strange in the first year or two of her life. And what I noticed was that she would see things and react to things that wasn't there. Do you know what I mean, Justin? Did you see this too?
I mean, I probably never noticed it as much, but I'm sure my girlfriend has. She'll point out things where she thinks that our daughter was, looking at space and stuff like that. It's totally possible that it is. I think it's possible because we are fresh at that time. We don't have any other filters going on. Everything's all new to us, and so all these frequencies and everything that we eventually tune ourselves to later on are not as apparent. As compared to when we're a child. So it's totally possible, that they might be experiencing things that we don't, or at least open to ideas like that we may not visually see it so apparent as we do, with other things.
Like
But I mean,
would
I
be,
notice
I would,
every now and then
yeah,
some things. Yeah.
I would be talking to her, and she would literally turn away and look at something, and laugh and point and
Yes.
and there's nothing there,
Yes.
And there was as she got older, there was a few other things too that happened, which really got me intrigued, and I will relate them now. So one time, I was giving her a bath, and we had these little toys, and there's like a little suction cup that you could stick onto the side of the bath, or do some kind of you lick the suction cup and you stick it.
Yeah.
Now I gave this to her, and this was and I know, because I'm her dad and she's a little kid, I know without a doubt she has never seen this thing before. When I'm handing it to her, this is a brand new object. And here's the thing that tripped me out. She immediately took it, looked at it, licked it, and stuck it on the side of the tub. And I was thinking, how did you know how to do that?
Yeah.
This is the first time you've ever seen this. How could you possibly know?
There's got to be, I would theorize there's at least some sort of memory, genetic memory of some sort that exists within us. That's why we have nature versus nurture. And the nature's not always about survival. It's just kind of, I guess in some sense, it could be a common sense, if we want to put it like that, that we all kind of are born with, So it's totally possible that she just because we've had suction cups in our recent human history, that maybe there's a memory of it in our genetics.
All right, I got a better one.
Go ahead.
I got a better one. This is also. Or
she saw you.
No. That was because I was very much in the mindset of trying to. Well, let's see what she does with this.
Yes.
So there was another time, and she must have been maybe 1 or 2 years old. No older than that. And we had some. Those tattoos that you wet them. You stick them on, and then you peel them off, and they're there for like, I don't know, a day or two, then they wash away, those things.
Every once in a while I do them.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Those things, right?
Yes.
And we had some of those, and I stuck one on her arm right here. And it was on for a while, and then she was taking a bath, and I said, "Here, come on, let me wash it off. Let me get rid of it." And she said to me, and this is the part that blows my mind, she held her arm and she says, "No, Daddy, I want to be like Popeye." How did she even know what Popeye even was?
Incarnation.
Popeye is not on. Popeye is not on TV, right?
She's all of oil.
It's not on TV. I mean,
No.
how many people have seen Popeye? Right? Nobody. Unless
I don't think recently.
Unless you're 40, unless you're 40 years old or older, nobody's seen Popeye on TV, right?
No.
It's not in popular media. It's not in popular culture in 2020 or in the 21st century. It's not.
No.
Right? I mean, in the 70s it was, in the 60s it was, in the 50s, in the 40s it really was in popular culture.
Yeah.
But not now.
Yeah.
And for her to hold up her arm and say, "No, Daddy, don't wash it off. I want to be like Popeye." I mean, what is that all about? Anyone know?
Are you a Popeye fan?
No.
No?
No,
Do you know anyone in your family that might be Popeye fan?
Absolutely not. I mean, obviously, I know who Popeye is. I watched when I was a kid. I used to watch the cartoons.
Yeah.
But that's it. That's it. I don't have no Popeye memorabilia or nothing.
Wow.
I mean, it's very strange. But I swear to you, that's exactly what happened. How could she possibly know?
Reincarnation.
Well, those thoughts did pop into my head also, but it's like, it doesn't make sense. You know what I mean?
It would have to be someone, that obviously died within the period of time that Popeye exists to possibly, have some sort of, memory from that past, I guess, that would suggest, that, she knows who Popeye is. Or just what Carl Jung suggested, it's the collective
consciousness.
unconscious. Yeah. And somehow, because I've always wondered, I would talk about things to, when I had some religious and philosophical discussions, and there were things I would put together that obviously were either already spoken about and I never knew about, and you think about that, or even when some aspect where dreams come from, there's things that I dreamt about that could be familiar to someone else, but to me it was totally something new. But I was aware that it existed somewhere, and so I think that's a totally, and I think the collective unconscious, the subconscious of that could be a total possibility for whatever reason. She might be a special golden child too. You never know.
Well, Justin, to me, she is.
Yeah.
We have a comment or question from Chrysuin. I think he's Welsh. It sounds like it's a Welsh name going on there. He says, I think we have some level of consciousness, but how many levels are there exactly? Is there just physical, spiritual, sub and full consciousness? Or is there more we don't know? What do you guys think?
Astral.
Astral?
Mm-hmm.
Could you elaborate?
Justin.
All right, Justin, go ahead.
Refer to Justin.
Let's refer to Justin.
Refer to Justin. Maybe pull out my handy Justin.
Yeah.
He's the astral.
He said.
Yeah.
Okay, Justin. He said.
I went to MIT.
He said astral, not Astro the Wonder Dog. Okay, so let's not go comic book route. Okay, go ahead.
Yes. No, I believe there is a different layers. I mean, psychologically, we already have, different layers of the consciousness as it is. And when you look at our makeup, we are different layers. There's this physical layer that we see now. There's a molecular level, and then there's even a more subatomic level, and we can even get smaller than that. So there's most definitely different levels of consciousness that we all exist on. We do, and even some of those things may be able to transfer over each level in the sense that we're connected to that, because we are. I think that's how certain things like this happen. Specifically your daughter having this experience, or even some of us may have dreams that may be premonitions, and or just overall some sort of thought that could be connected to something. I think we connect on those levels overall. We just don't normally do that. We have a connection from keep going down all the way down to the rest of the universe, where you and I are not only connected by this internet connection, but by our electron molecular connection, not through that as well. So the levels of consciousness is probably just the levels of reality that we have. It could be the dimensions that we have. It exists in all those. So ideally, to say this, I think consciousness is infinite then. If I were to put it in that way.
Go ahead, Steve.
I think, Justin, too, this is where frequency plays into a major part in it as well. Because, frequencies consistently interact with each other. You get that when we meet for the first time. We're near different people as opposed to people that we're used to. You get a different vibe. It's because it's a different frequencies being introduced into your environment, and this is sort of what's going on here. I think with what you're with what you're explaining there, Justin.
Yeah, it is level. It's a levels of how we vibrate with it. We have this level of even within ourselves, it's already levels of understanding. There's this level that I push off to. There's the level of my shadow complex, where all the negative aspects of myself go. That's also another psychological term. And there's levels of the subconscious where I'm not even aware of that. Now you add the levels to the molecular and everything, and all that seeps through reality. And if we to take the idea of string theory, or even all these, and of course it's been a while since I could even explain those theories, but you could take those ideas and see how we are interconnected, and those ideas, that's where that interconnected comes from, is specifically that. And I think even It might have been. No, I don't think it was last episode, but it was in previous episodes. And of course, people, if you're listening or watching this right now, check out those previous episodes that we've all been at. I was talking about one day after having my own almost existential cry, my atheist, my nihilistic perception, starting to tear away from me. I just sat there one day, and I forget what it was. I might have been on lunch. I might have been out at the park. I go to forest preserves a lot throughout my life. Just go, and I just sat there, and I was just like, we're all connected. It's just I felt every vibration in a sense. At just one point, my brain was just tuned in, and it just was like it came out my mouth.
It was a PB&J sandwich you're eating.
Yes, had a little bit of Oberon too, and maybe some psychedelics. But yeah, it really came to that. And we not just me talking about this, but we see throughout history, we see now that people have these moments, and that's where. Well, to piggyback off that's where that religion aspect comes in, because it's like, what are these moments? What is all this weirdness that's going on? Oh, it's Jesus Christ and the Holy Ghost and everything. And maybe, but it's most likely not.
I think the listeners watching right now, Cryusin, what he's or she, I don't know, maybe he or she, the person.
True.
What they're saying, I think, is that everything is conscious, right?
Yeah.
No, I just heard your cat.
Yeah.
Right? So your cat is conscious. Your cat is aware.
Correct.
But their level of conscious, their level of consciousness is so far below us.
Correct.
They can't comprehend the world the way we do.
The awareness.
Right. But can they? That's the question.
No, they can't. I mean, like the cat doesn't know. I mean, they can't because they haven't done anything of any significance. It's not like it's not like cats are
not paying bills.
Cats are not paying bills or inventing the next.
You mean they haven't destroyed the world?
Right, right. But you see what I mean? That there's a level of awareness.
There is a level,
and then how to manipulate reality. But because there are layers of awareness, right? From ants. Ants are aware, they're conscious, but they only see their own little bubble of reality. And cats, dogs, and so on and so on. And then you get to us, and we appear to be far more aware of reality and how it functions, right? Because we're
self-aware.
We're self-aware. We're aware of our own mortality. We're aware of the world and how it works. We're starting to learn about the universe and so on and so forth. But it also points to another direction. It points to the direction that from the lowest little microbe or insect, their level of consciousness reality up to us is that there are levels above us. There are levels of awareness and consciousness above us that might make us seem like ants.
This is true. We experience that, and we see these things in people's personal experiences and dreams, as well as hallucinogens, ayahuasca, certain mushrooms and psilocybin, stuff like that. People tend to
expand consciousness.
Yes, and that seems to be the only way we can tap into those things.
We gotta
by
say
doing that.
The spice expands consciousness and enables space travel. The spice must flow.
Our delight.
There you go. Continue.
Have any of you ever experienced it?
It? Pennywise?
Well, yeah. Cactus, man. Cactus.
Is this code? No. I obviously, I'm sure we can get into it on this. I mean, I personally have done hallucinogens and all sorts of different inducing inebriants and whatnot.
Yeah, I didn't want to be rude, but we can tell. Go ahead.
You got to. It really did. I mean, even the reason why I never even dabbled into that originally, because a lot of stuff I did was after I was 18 above. I already had the experiences. I was very much involved in church. But getting into those really helped me kind of see what perspective and idea of consciousness is. So when I've done that, I've never had a bad experience in that sense, but it has opened my mind to these new perspectives of what we're seeing. And every once in a while, we tap into that without that. My slight experience on DMT is the same as me orally taking it.
Hit the brakes there. Hit the brakes. So, Justin,
yes,
you just said the D word.
Yes.
Okay.
But it's not. Okay. It's not in.
We cannot let this lie. We cannot let this pass. No. We have to delve into this. You need to take us step by step, moment by moment.
Oh my God.
We need to explore this thoroughly. Just imagine I'm a doctor. You're in my office, and I just put on a rubber glove. Let's go. Oh. So, tell me
without condoning
tell me about this.
And getting in specifics for people, just for caution and disclaimer, you can achieve. You have DMT already in you, so every time you daydream, you're hallucinating. Mm-hmm. So we already have it naturally. Every time you're dreaming, you're under the spell of DMT, mm-hmm. except until you orally take it or smoke it. In some sense, I've never done it that way, and I've only done it a couple times. It's nothing that's been a constant thing. The way I done it, though, is not in the purest way, and of course, I'm not gonna get into all that because I don't want people going out or someone listening to this and all that. Yeah, exactly. And then of course I got the FDA or someone else.
I think what we're really we're not really interested in where you got it from. Or how, we don't care about that.
But
what we're interested in. Okay, let me just lay this out because I've seen many a documentary and heard many a story.
Yeah.
That people who take DMT, they break through into another reality that is consistent. In other words, if I were to take it and, one of you guys were to take it, the experience that we would have
should be similar.
And the entities that we would meet would be very, very similar.
Yes.
Which really makes me think is that if it's all an hallucination and if we're all just, daydreaming, then our experiences should be pretty significantly different, not significantly the same.
Correct.
Is this a challenge?
No, I don't. It's not necessarily.
Mine was a 14-hour experience.
Did you do it too, Steve?
I was.
Did you take it?
Yes.
Oh, dude. Okay. All right.
Well,
okay.
real quick, the only reason why I was,
Mm-hmm.
Giving a little prelude to it, because you can achieve these things differently on different levels, and some DMT is not chemically the same where you get it from. In my experience, where I got it from was a lot more lighter than some direct source. Personally, real quick, before Steve gets in it, because I really do want to hear Steve's story on it.
Yeah, me too. I want to hear Steve's story too.
Yeah, what I can say is it was very much dreamlike, and what I was seeing in my hallucinations felt like I was there, even though I even knew I was aware. There was this one story I told while I was on there. I was working at Six Flags Great America. I'm literally talking to someone on this particular dose of DMT. They know I'm on it. I know I'm on it, but I'm having this full-blown conversation, okay, about this experience I had working at Six Flags Great America that never happened. Wait.
But you never worked there?
No, I worked there.
Oh, you did?
I never had this experience.
All right.
Don't ever claim anymore.
I was park services.
He wanted to work
in the warehouse. Yeah, it's a long line. It's a special club to get into.
Because if you're gonna dream to work somewhere, Six Flags wouldn't be
Six Flags?
Wouldn't be a place you want to work at. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So it's all right. So what was happening, and I vividly remember it now. That's how much of an impact it was. There was, among other things that were going on, I was telling someone that I was cleaning a bathroom, and rats started pouring out of the urinal.
Oh, boy.
Rats were pouring out, which is impossible because rats couldn't be coming out of a urinal.
Uh-huh.
But in the way I explained it to him, never happened. But I explained it to him like it did, like I was there.
You felt
and I
it was
literally
real.
stopped.
Convinced.
I literally
Like,
stopped myself and was like, "Wait a minute! Oh yeah, I'm high right now."
But seriously though, it felt like a real experience that
Yes.
you were relating.
I was really there. It was like a memory
Uh-huh.
that happened.
Right.
And I was retelling it like it happened, and I had to stop myself and go, "That never happened." I go, "Oh yeah, I'm on something," right? And I had to like, "Yeah, you're right."
Wow.
But that was my light dose experience, and that's how much that just alone can alter your perception. Now, Steve, go right ahead.
All right,
bring that on
Steve.
there.
Can you beat rats coming out of a urinal? I don't know, man. I don't know. Let's hear. So you took what, ayahuasca?
Yes.
Tell us about it.
14 hours of total
Misery.
mayhem.
And it's long.
Wait, mayhem?
It's long.
Mayhem
It's
or
long.
misery?
Not misery, just mayhem. I guess basically explain it as simply as possible is to think of a night of good dreaming. Just
Okay.
that's exactly what it was like. It was like you're living in one of your dreams. You're in one place, and then you're in another place, and then you're in another place. You're envisioning people that are associated with you in life, and then all of a sudden you have people that, wow, where did this person come from? And you're like, okay, whatever. But the thing was, my experience was, and they tell you it is a life-altering experience, and it is. It is. It makes you discover things about yourself that you never knew, and that, I guess, is sort of a part of the deal too. But what it is like going through your dreams and nightmares, whatever, real time. It feels like real time, like you're actually living through that dream or nightmare.
Was there anything like profound, like
what happened?
Like deep, meaningful, or was it just like you dreaming, like, hey, I'm at the store right now, and I'm gonna go do this, or
rats coming out of urinal.
Yeah, I mean, you got a bunch of rats coming out of a urinal. Yeah, it's great. I mean, was there anything like profound or like deeply spiritual that kind of communed with you? Did you encounter any entities that appeared to be outside yourself or anything like that?
What I learned was that life as we know it,
Spock.
Yeah, life as we know it through my experience was meaningless. Really. It's a set of actions. It's all physical, and what is the most important aspect of your life is the non-physical aspects of it.
Yeah.
Is to try to understand the meanings that are subtle in throughout your life. I mean, there are things that happen to you, your linear life line, if you will. And there's these little pockets that you question and you keep going back to and thinking there's something more to that. Like, for instance, just an example, you wake up and you have this familiar scent. And you're going to yourself, that's so familiar. Why am I smelling this now? There's nothing in this room that would sort of emit this scent. What's going on? And you know what? That sort of moment when you're in that sort of induced state, you think and you literally drone over the fact that it means something and I really need to know what it means. And your mind is telling you, it is somebody that you knew is making contact with you, and this is the only way they know how to make contact with you, through smell.
Well, smells are a huge part of paranormal phenomena.
Exactly. But not just paranormal though.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yes, it's associated with
Sure.
paranormal phenomena, but I mean on a daily basis.
Oh yeah. I know what you mean. I mean,
Yeah.
we all have. You walk into a building, you smell something, and it immediately takes you back to
Yeah.
your grandmother's kitchen or something, right?
Yeah.
Immediately. And it's the same with music too, or sounds.
Music, yes, absolutely.
You'll
yeah.
hear a song on the radio, and it's like suddenly you're at the high school disco. You know what I mean? It's like boom.
Yeah.
It's very very similar, but smells are very important in regard to the paranormal, right? The
And
smells
these things,
that they travel, they move, they that kind of thing.
your senses are extremely heightened when you're under
Yeah.
this. You're
When
extremely heightened.
okay.
Yes, extremely
Let me
heightened.
go to Alex, because Alex is our resident skeptic here.
I just want to
He's
know
also
where Steve
straight
got.
edge.
Are they all?
I want to know where Steve got that drug.
Hey,
Give
where'd
it
you
a shot there.
Hey, I can hook you up. Don't worry. No,
Yeah, don't worry about
but Alex,
Long time ago.
are you
long time.
thinking like they're just they're high, they're just hallucinating, it's a bunch of nonsense, or is there something deeper going on here? Something else happening.
There's something deeper going on for sure. I mean, I get the same experience after having about a glass of 40 Creek.
What's 40 Creek? You need to explain it to.
Yeah, 40 Creek's
to
a
our
whiskey,
American
by the
listeners.
way.
Yeah.
It's a Canadian whiskey. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is, for me, because I haven't tried DMT or whatever Steve tried. I can't remember the name now, but
Ayahuasca.
there you go, ayahuasca. Yeah, I haven't tried either of those. But when you drink something, and you get to that level where you're not drunk, but you're just sort of kind of tipsy, you kind of, at least it's happened to me anyway, where you kind of get that sort of impression that, like Justin said and like Steve said, where you're connected to a much bigger sort of framework than you are when you're sober.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It kind of like, because as you all know, alcohol reduces your inhibitions. Right.
Yep.
So kind of dulls down your senses, not senses, sorry, your filters, if you will, and it just sort of allows you to explore areas that you normally wouldn't explore when you're not at that level.
Right.
Now, obviously, DMT and whatever, it's going to get you to that level even further.
Yeah.
Alcohol world, because if you drink too much alcohol, you're just not going to remember what the hell you did the night before. But I truly believe that there is a deeper meaning to what they're experiencing. I don't think it's something that's just induced by the drug itself, because here we have two individuals living in two different countries, trying different hallucinogenics, but kind of had similar experiences nevertheless. Where it had a deeper meaning to both of them. But if it was just sort of made up, you would think of like green monsters.
Way different, yeah.
Green monsters like trying to eat you or something like that, or something that you're deeply afraid of.
Yeah.
After you and what have you, or something to that effect. But what they've experienced, it seems like there's more of a deeper meaning than just that.
Yeah.
We have to.
Sorry, go ahead, Steve.
We have to remember too that these sort of hallucinogens have a deep meaning with indigenous cultures.
Oh yeah.
And they
like
will
rites of passage.
Yeah, they will only use these to sort of give them guidance in life, or sort of bring them back to reality and say, look, you need to get your life straightened out. This will help you, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're seeing that now. Go ahead, Alex.
I was going to say these things like get your life in order. Instead of hallucinogens in the West, instead of that, we have commercials.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, because commercials are always like, here's what you can do to be happy. Here's what you can do to get your life in order. If you buy this product, you'll be happy. If you take this drug, you'll be this.
Yeah.
So we have commercials instead of hallucinogens. We have a comment here from Curry. I'm trying to say your name. sir or madam. I don't know whether you're male or female. Kairusin, is that how you say it? I don't know. Tell us in the chat if we got it right. But he or she said, I had an experience once while meditating and listening to one song on repeat where I felt that I was levitating and seeing bright flashing colors. And no, it wasn't a Pink Floyd concert. Well, I'm a little disappointed that it wasn't Pink Floyd, but
it was Rush.
but they go on to say that it was a trippy experience to say the least.
Yeah.
I've
Go ahead.
I had a similar experience. Now, back when I was a teenager and I was having a hard time falling asleep, a good friend of mine turned me on to meditation, and I knew little to nothing about out-of-body experiences at the time. I just strictly used the meditation to try to help me to...
Wait. Did you have an out-of-body experience?
I almost had an out-of-body experience.
Okay.
I'll get to that.
All right, we're gonna because I'm as soon as you said that, I was immediately fascinated. But I just want to make sure.
Yeah, no, I didn't, and I'll explain why I didn't.
Okay.
And I'll explain the process. So
right.
I used meditation to try to help me to fall asleep, and I got to the point where it became sort of second nature, where I would lie down on my back, close my eyes, and within minutes I would fall asleep, whereas before it would take me half an hour to an hour just to fall asleep. So I just kept doing this, and at one night, I was doing the same thing. I laid down, closed my eyes, cleared my mind, and just sort of went into this trance. And in that state where you're half in and half out of your sleep state, I felt myself sort of lifting out of my body. And because I didn't know what was happening back then, I immediately snapped awake.
Mm-hmm.
And I basically thwarted whatever was going to happen. And I've been trying to replicate this since, and I haven't had any success, unfortunately. And I think it's because I'm trying too hard to do it. But nevertheless, it almost happened to me. And I felt that sensation where I was being sort of lifted out of my body. And that's what kind of freaked me out.
Yeah. So I'm fascinated by out-of-body experiences. And I'm hoping that either Justin or Steve will have something to say about this. I see Justin already starting to grin. So he probably has some thoughts. But I have had an out-of-body experience, and I've had one for real, and then one kind of almost. So the first time I had one, it was spontaneous, and I left my body, and I started wandering around the house. And I remember distinctly, like, going from room to room, and I was on the second floor, and I was going to go down the stairs to the ground floor where the kitchen was and everything. And I remember going down the stairs, but looking at the stairs, and my feet were like this. I couldn't get my feet to touch the stairs, but I was still going down the stairs. And I think that was that kind of gave me a clue, like, hey, what's going? Something's not right here. And I remember that. But something I also remember is the color. Everything had a very specific color. And whenever I hear someone talk about out-of-body experiences, I always ask them this kind of question: how did everything look? What was the color? How was the world when you were in this state? Well, how was the world represented to you? And the color, the closest way I can describe it is moonlight. And you know when there's a big bright full moon, and you have the windows and the curtains are open and the moonlight is streaming into the room and it illuminates the room. The way the room looks through moonlight, that's how the way the world looked to me in my out-of-body state.
Kind of like Twilight, sort of.
Everything looked
like in a
that
Twilight
way.
state.
It looked like that. There was another time where I attempted to force myself to have an out-of-body experience, and I was lying in the bed, my eyes closed, and I was forcing myself to do it. And I literally could feel myself rising out of my body, like I could literally feel it. But it scared me, and when I got scared, it went it kind of sucked back in, and I got up and stood up, and I couldn't do it because it was too scary.
Kind of
Yeah, that's
sounds
what
like
happened to me. Yeah.
That's
kind of sounds like astral projection to me.
yeah, something along.
I think they're similar when it comes
Yeah.
down.
They
to
are
it.
similar. Yeah.
Yeah.
They are similar.
Because I've had that, even as the questionnaire mentioned with meditating. I've had that with music, with all sorts of, not under any hallucinogen or anything, but I've had that, just having that playing, closing my eyes, and kind of just letting the frequency, one could say, kind of take me away. But I've also had something close to an out of body experience. It was when I was younger, and I remember having this. I want to call it a dream. That's the best way I can explain it. I was basically in a dream state. But when you mentioned something about the moonlight that you could see, that's what I remembered in this dream state, was like an illuminated area, almost like moonlight. And what was happening was, which was the weirdest part, I was able to pinpoint there was a bee, there was like a wasp. It was in my room, and what was happening was, for some weird reason, I was able to pinpoint where the wasp was, and I was watching while I was under this state of mind. And I remember getting up, and almost like I was looking at it in my mind's eye, in a sense. I remember waking up finally, and I was staring at it, and eventually I ended up swatting it out, but I could have been the sound, it could have been both that and the state of mind at it, but I was able to visually see, and I didn't see my body or anything, but I was able to look around the room and literally follow this as I'm going, and a light kind of helped me see that, and that's very much relatable to a little bit of what you said there, Gareth.
I kind of use it for like a test, and maybe I've blown it now by saying it on this live stream, but whenever I speak to somebody and they say, oh yeah, I'm out of body or whatever, I always ask them, I say, well, how did it look? How did the world look?
Yeah.
And most of the time, they just say, just looked like the normal world. But every once in a while, I'll run into someone who will say, yeah, it looked like illuminated, like
illuminated,
like moonlight. And when they say that, I'm like, oh shit, dude. You know what I mean? Like, we had the same experience. That kind of.
Well, I wanted to ask Steve earlier from his particular experience with the ayahuasca. For me, what I noticed when I was on it, it was like a level before I got
wait.
full on.
You took that shit too? Are you kidding me?
DMT.
You took ayahuasca
he had
too?
DMT, but in ayahuasca form, I had DMT in a different form.
Okay.
And
all right.
yes, what I noticed though, on different types of, very similar types of hallucinogens, I noticed that it ramps up. Okay, so there's times that I'm like, I may be in a state of mind where I'm not totally feeling it, but all of a sudden I go, am I feeling it? And I look at something, and I don't know if you experience this, Steve, but it's vibrating. Like, you see it almost like it's just, that's the only way I can explain it. It's vibrating. And then as soon as I realize it's vibrating, it just goes, whoop. All right, now you're engulfed, now you're seeing the world. But I don't know if you've experienced that. Like, if it starts off like that and gets into the full-on experience, as, we technically both a dreamlike experience.
Your mind. I mean, I think that's a common occurrence with anything, really. It's your mind is telling you to focus on something, and it's real. A lamppost or whatever. Okay, I'm looking at this lamppost. It's real. It's really there. But is it really there?
Maybe, yeah.
That's the whole vibrating sort of aspect with
Yes.
things, and sort of going into this bang. Okay, where did the lamppost go? I'm in a different. Oh, okay, there's a door there. Okay, let's open the door. There's no real door there, but let's open it anyways. You open that door, and you're in this whole different jungle, if you will, or on a beach, or whatever
Or the Playboy Mansion.
your experience takes you, and it's just incredible. But yeah, Justin, yeah, I experienced it, and that's the whole point of your mind trying to focus on something to try to look at. Okay, I'm trying to stabilize myself here, but it's not working.
So, in the chat box, Serious Sin said his or her name is Serious Sin, because I asked what was the name was. Serious Sin. It's a great name, by the way. We still don't know if it's male or female, so we're gonna, or which gender.
It might unravel by the end of the
which
of
gender it
episode.
might be. I don't know. I don't know. Tell us. I have a feeling that it's male, but hey, I made that mistake before. No, I'm kidding. No. We'll see.
I've been in that situation
Whoa,
too.
Hey.
I have. Oh man.
So
what was the question?
No, I was going to say, now that we're talking, about alternate reality,
yes.
I mean, our initial discussion was life after death. Is there a continuation of consciousness after bodily death, right? After our heart stops beating, our brain goes dead, and this is going to happen to all of us, right? The four of us on this show. Well, hey, speak for yourself. It's going to happen. It's going to happen to all of us. It's going to happen to the people watching this video. We're all at some point we're all going to just keel over, and it's game over.
It's going to happen.
It absolutely is going to happen, right? It might happen tomorrow. It might happen 50 years from now, but it is going to happen. And just the thought of that, right? Just the idea that one day it's all going to be over. Does that fill you with dread, with fear, with anxiety? How does it make you feel, Alex? Let me go to Alex first.
It does fill me with dread. Not so much because, I mean, if you really think about it realistically, if we do cease to exist and there is nothing beyond this, we won't know any better once we're dead.
True.
So there's really no reason to fear it.
Mm-hmm.
What I fear is that I don't want it to be over.
Right.
I want to be able to continue and sort of go beyond this physical realm, if you will, and explore what we physically can't do now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I stand. That's where my fear is from, because I don't really want it to be over. I don't want the life that we live now, where we have to wake up at a certain time every day to go to work, to pay the bills, to be the whole of our existence.
Yeah.
Like another, yeah.
You know what I mean? There has to be more to this. Why the F are we here if that's all we're here to do?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the experiences that Justin and Steve related, as well as the experiences I've had with that near out-of-body experience, or the experience I had when my father passed away, all lead to the possibility that there is a continuation beyond this physical realm. The only way we'll truly know that, of course, is when we go.
When.
Yeah.
Like I said on the first show, though, is all I hope is that when this happens, when we do, shuffle off this mortal coil and move off to, wherever it is that we're going to be moving off to, I just hope it's not like another, you got to go get a job and pay bills and deal with bullshit.
But,
what I mean? And like I said,
the worst part,
like I said on the last one, I don't want to work at the ghost post office. Right?
Yes.
I don't want to work at the spiritual Walmart or in the phantasmagorical office. You know what I mean? I don't want to. I mean, this is this life. This life, we need money to survive. We need to pay bills. We need to make our way through this world in order to live. Right? You work to live, not vice versa. And it's a constant fear of mine that you're going to die and you're going to wake up in some fucking place where they're going to be like, okay, Mr. Davis, yeah, okay, yeah, you're dead now. Yeah, we see that you're good with Excel. So if you could go, and, I mean, I'd want to be like, how do I kill? I want to kill myself. They're like, wait, you can't. You're already dead. What are you going to do? I mean, you're.
It's just another
how do you get out? It's a nightmare.
Gareth,
It's a nightmare. I mean, you know.
Gareth,
I
you've been
agree.
watching too much Monty Python.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But let's face it. I mean, the way I look at it is, we can't control it, no matter what.
Of course not.
We can't control it, and the problem is if we try to control it, that's when the stress and the fear comes
True.
into play, right? As much as we all want to live on, we all don't want this to end. We all want to experience more, and living our lives that way, it really wreaks more havoc than anything.
True.
You know, and I'm with Alex. You know, I fear it. I mean, we all fear it. But I mean, the fact is, the fear is what gets us.
Yeah.
And if we can accept the fact that we can't control everything, we only worry about the things we can control.
Yeah.
And obviously, death is one thing we can't control. Let it go. That's the way I look at it. So
Let it go. Let it go.
let it go.
No, I
let
think that is to it. Yeah, no, it is. It is to that because I think that's where even just the fuel for religion and all these other spiritual beliefs come in is because we got to know and it's got to be something and whatnot. And before for me it was the same. I was worried: am I going to go to hell? Am I going to go to heaven? I got to do this. I got to do that. Now it doesn't. The only thing I worry about is if I'm freaking going to get an aneurysm or a heart attack or so. That's really what it is.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah, there's a possibility that, hey, it might be the Christian mythos, and I didn't follow those damn rules, and here I go in hell. But at the same time, though, we do have to think that it's probably just going to be the way it just seems, it's another idea of reality, anyways. And as Gareth kind of mentioned, we might be just clocking in. It might literally just be another clock in, and that would be a hell for real.
That would be a hell. It really would.
That really would be. I would be like, this is it. This is the big scam.
Yeah.
I went through that period where I worried about everything. I worried about my mortality. I constantly droned about my mortality, and it got me to the point where, okay, I need to head this on and deal with this. And I learned that you can't control that, so why worry about it? I mean, the more you worry about it, the more life becomes disastrous, if you will.
Yeah.
No.
Because you think of when you come into this world, it's painful, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no child on the planet that when he or she is born is not screaming in agony.
No. It's actually a scary situation
Mm-hmm.
and I experienced it being very scary. Both my kids, not necessarily it was complicated, but there were some issues of being so far into the womb trying to get out. When my son was born, he didn't look like he was breathing right away, and they kept quiet. The doctors kept quiet. It's a very rough experience. Blood everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's violent. It really is. Yeah.
So when you're if you come into this reality in pain, it's painful for you as a new baby being born into this reality. It's painful for the mother giving birth. Yep. It's an extremely painful and stressful time. So when you look at it that way, maybe death is the same thing, right? It's a painful, stressful, horrific moment as you transition from maybe one reality to another.
True.
And I think that's one of the fears of death, right? That we fear how we die, and if it's going to be a painful situation, right? I mean that's a big fear. As you pointed out, Gareth, the whole situation of coming into life and how painful it was. Is it going to be the same way, when we leave? But is it always like that? Well, I don't think it always is always like that.
Well, we always hear these stories of, yeah, he died peacefully in his sleep.
Yeah.
But I think those kind of deaths it's the minority, right?
Isn't the best way to go?
Most people, they have a massive heart attack, die in agony, or they're riddled with cancer, screaming in agony. They get hit by a truck. Their brains pop out of there. They're in agony and pain.
Yeah.
I think most people die in pain. I think only a tiny minority. He passed away of old age in his sleep.
Yeah.
That's the minority. Most people die screaming in pain.
Yeah. It really is.
So guess what we got to look forward to?
More pain.
More pain. But like everything though, right? Everything you can imagine, whether it's
no pain, no gain.
Whether it's animate or inanimate, every single thing you can imagine in this reality has 3 stages. It has a beginning and a middle and an end.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything you can possibly imagine has 3 stages: a beginning and a middle and an end. And during your life, you're in one of those 3 stages, right? You're either in the beginning, the middle, or the end of this process.
Yeah.
Everyone or everything you can possibly imagine is in one of those positions at one time. And if you're lucky enough to be in the beginning, well, enjoy it while it lasts, because pretty soon you're going to be in the middle. And when you get in the middle, guess what? Pretty soon you're going to be in the end.
In the end, yeah.
It's coming. Yeah. There's nothing you can do about it. You're going to move through that process and then move on to whatever, if anything, comes next.
I'll let you guys know I'm the oldest here.
Well, I don't know. I don't know how old you guys are. Should we play the age? Should we play the age game? Shall we guess?
Why not?
Justin's the youngest.
Justin's the okay. Let me guess. Okay, I'm gonna guess. Justin is 36.
Close. Whoa. Very close.
You're
warm.
What are you?
Warm. I'm 37.
Okay. Oh, look at that. I nailed it.
Good.
Nailed it. Okay. Well, let's move on to Alex. Let me look at Alex. Let me pull you up on the screen here. There you go, Alex. Okay. Alex is
75.
45.
Oh,
46.
Oh, look at
damn!
Dude,
look at
I'm good at this shit, man. I'm fucking good.
On,
46. All right, okay, let's go. Let's go to Steve.
102.
Steve is, let me take a look. Steve is this is a tough one.
Just whip up his profile.
Steve, I'm not cheating. I'm looking at his. I'm not cheating. Come on, throw me a bone here.
All right.
Steve is 52.
What? No.
60.
Oh,
how old are you?
You ain't 60.
You're close.
I'm 50. Close. 50.
50.
Okay, 50.
That's not bad.
All right. So we got 37, 46, and 50.
And what's Gareth?
Gareth is
25.
25.
I'm gonna say Gareth is 47.
Whoa.
I can go with it. I'll go with it.
All right.
I may say something I might offend them.
No, go ahead. Offend away.
51.
All right. Okay. I'm gonna say.
I'm playing it safe.
Alex is the closest.
Oh wow!
I didn't hear what Alex was saying.
Alex is the closest.
51.
I will be I'm 52.
Jesus Christ.
I'm 52.
No way.
Yeah.
I would never guess it, Gareth.
Now we're talking physical age, mental age. It's a whole different deal.
Oh yeah.
Whole different deal.
Wow.
You're still wearing your propeller hat.
Well, Gareth, I don't feel as bad now. Welcome to the club.
Welcome to the club. Let's virtually reach over and shake hands. There you go. So yeah, so we're
And
all.
this explains why I missed some of those references.
There you go. We're all.
We could throw a few fast ones over these guys here, Gareth.
fuck
Come
yeah,
on.
yeah. We're all. So I mean, like we were talking about, there, guys. We're all edging towards the finish line, right?
Yep.
You know, and I've often said, you know, one of the greatest consolations of getting old is that it's happening to everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not just you. You know what I mean?
No.
I say that if you want to live longer, watch as much Monty Python as possible.
Know what I mean? Nudge, nudge, say no more. Absolutely. So where do we go from here, guys? We're gonna be wrapping this up fairly soon. So where do we go from here as far as the afterlife? Have we come to any conclusions, or are we still as baffled as we were when we first started this?
I think we're baffled. Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
No, you go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, I think we're a little baffled, but we were reaching to something, you know, and I think that next discussion, you know, overall, what we can lead into it now is what is that possibility? What could be the possibility of where we go? Mm-hmm. And you kind of brought that up with like, what is that other side? Yeah. You know, and to kind of bridge that gap. I mean, what we were kind of talking about earlier with some things, that's possibly the multiverse where we go into things. And I brought it up a little bit before. It's like a hard drive, you know, and I think that's more or less what that is. And we see some of those types of things come into play. I forget who it was. God, I can't think of, I don't know why I want to say Timothy Leary, mm-hmm. but there was a particular person who was doing studies with hallucinogens. And on his deathbed, he had his wife inject him, you know, with some sort of inebriant that helped him cross that path.
Right.
And he put his mind into a sort of state. So when he transfers over, that's where it's going. And him, from what I remember reading about that, was like, this is the most beautiful experience I'm having. And he's seeing, you know, light and these different things going on. And, you know, he said it was a peaceful experience that he had before he died by initiating that particular mind frame.
Yeah, but how do we know that, though, Justin? He's dead. Did he come back?
Of course.
And say, oh, yeah.
Well, not that. He was aware. He was actually, before he died, he was talking about what he was mm-hmm. experiencing and seeing right before his death. And I wouldn't be surprised that the induction itself probably pushed it over, too, for mm-hmm. him to die. But it was to lessen the pain that he was dealing with, and that was it. And we often see this, you know, in some senses when people say they've come back. Yeah. You know, I went through this, I've had this, and a lot, very minimum, but mm-hmm. a lot of people already have a preconceived understanding of what that might be. Oh, I saw the angels, you know, and it's very vague, even the way people describe it. I saw, you know, these bodies, but, you know, I could see their hands, and they're telling me to come, but I can't see their faces. And we see these things while other people will say that it was a dark experience. So it's a possibility that it may just be up to us where we go. Well, I think that might be a hinge on it.
I think as we wrap up this episode on the afterlife, I mean, no one was expecting us to come up with the definitive answer anyway, right? I mean, it was just, of course. I mean, from our first beginnings, we were just playing the speculation game. I think that most people hope that there's something after. Personally, I hope that there isn't, but I suspect that there is. Yeah. But as to what that is, I have no clue. I think that whatever it is, it's going to be far stranger and far weirder than we can even possibly comprehend. But
come on, Gareth. All you want you just want to have a break on your bills. Come on.
Of course, dude. Come on. Absolutely.
Next show we should all be on DMT.
DMT.
Oh, God.
Dude, imagine if when you die you take DMT and you end up on Earth. like a human.
They're just right back to zero.
right back to where you started.
What?
I know.
This was it? Oh,
It'll be
God.
unbelievable. I mean,
Get about it.
I want to be on the Starship Enterprise. Spock. But we'll see. I mean, we'll all find out eventually, right? I mean, I know that, for the last couple of hours on this episode, on the one we did last week, we're just purely playing the speculation game, wondering what it could be. We have no idea. Lots of theories, lots of ideas, lots of questions. But the crazy part is that one day we will find out, and we will know. Hopefully that day will be way in the future for all of us, but we don't know. One day we'll find out. Guys, it's been amazing as always. Always fun to talk to you guys. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I want to thank the viewers for tuning in and enjoying, hopefully enjoying the conversation. Please consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. Hit the like and the subscribe and the bell and all that fun stuff, so that when we do this again, you'll know. And now I think we should do this again next week. But we need a new topic. So unless you guys can come up with one, let's have the viewers in the comments to write in what they want us to talk about next Monday.
I think that'd be cool.
Next Monday night when we do this again and we discuss some other strange and weird and wonderful topic on Mindset Live. So viewers, go down in the comments. Type what you want us to talk about, and we'll hop on it next week. Let's see where everyone else can be found. Let's start with Justin. Justin, if people wanted to find you on the interwebs, where would they go, and what would they find?
Oh, they'll find all sorts of things. They probably will. You can find me at the anonymousradionetwork.podbean.com. or wonderfully Justin Villarreal on Facebook and Twitter at CrazyJ82 or LCGH.
Awesome. Let's see. Alex, where can you be discovered on the superhighway?
The other realm.
Yeah.
The other realm, yeah. We can, Steve and I both co-host Nocturnal Frequency Radio on newvisionsradio.com. Obviously, tune in Sunday nights, 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we have Twitter that's, believe, Dark Discussions, Steve. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, and also on Instagram under Nocturnal Frequency Radio.
There you go.
I believe.
And last but not least, the instigator, the creator, the man, the myth, the legend, the Nocturnal Frequency himself. Where can you be discovered, Steve?
On planet Earth.
Planet Earth, dude.
You can hear Nocturnal Frequency Radio live, like Alex said, every Sunday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the New Visions Radio Network. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Nocturnal Frequency Radio. And if you want to check out my research too, you can find us at facebook.com/SOPS Investigations, and you'll see all my research there.
Yeah, we should add that Steve, Alex, and Justin are experienced paranormal investigators and have gone out and actually, put their money where their mouth is and actually gone out there and investigated for real. And that could be a future discussion, to get into that, because there's some great stories that you guys have related on Nocturnal Frequency and to me personally, and we could get into that for sure. So yeah, please subscribe to the Mindset YouTube channel, or you can go to mindsetcentral.com and check out what I'm up to over there. But that about wraps it up, man. I really thank you guys for watching. It's been awesome. I want to thank Alex, Steve, and Justin for coming on. It's been great. And let's do this again next Monday. Let's make this a Monday thing, a Monday night deal. But the only provision is We need some good topics. So
Yeah.
so viewers and listeners, get in the chat box. Get in
We'll just
the
text
comments and let us know and subscribe, and we'll get to it. But until next week, farewell, good brothers. We'll see you again. And take it easy. Have a great week. We'll talk to you next Monday. Good night, all.
Good night.